Mm, so beautiful. Beautiful morning to you, Cindy. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Uh, I'm doing good. Just I'm laughing because we were talking and she's like, well, what have you been doing? I'm like, nothingness. Just been sitting in this nothingness. Like I was explaining to you how on Friday I sat down to do my Facebook Live in my group and I just sat there and stared at the computer because I like had nothing to say, nothing was coming through, and I was just sitting there. And that's how it's been for me the last couple of days. It's just been like my podcast isn't at release this week and I'm okay with it, or at least letting it go to be okay with it. And just being in this weird, awkward space where it almost feels like I'm disconnected, but I know I'm not because I could feel the energy all around. But it's just like maybe it's speaking a different language I haven't learned yet. I'm not quite sure. Like my meditations, I've been meditating a lot, but when I sit in the meditations, it's just been silence.
Okay, wait. So I love this. I love that you said that it's speaking a different language that maybe you haven't even met. This is something that like it just lights me up because it's like, okay, so many people don't even know this language of silence. So many people don't even know what silence is because they're so used to hearing their thoughts, whatever's coming through. They're just so on the go and so busy doing other things, so busy listening to their children scream, to all of the things that they do not know what silence is. They don't even know what silence is. Like, have you ever sat down and just ate your breakfast in silence? Like it's really like something that we're not used to.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you get the opportunity to do that, and sometimes this is just telling you, like, just sit down, like, don't do nothing, just listen to nothing. And it's like, it's that message, like, okay, it's okay. It's okay. Everything is going to be okay. Everything always has been okay. Everything always will be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just silence.
Yeah, and it's like I heard this before where like when you sit in meditation, you go into meditation, you see nothing. You see nothing but black. Like it's completely black. And then I hear nothing. I hear no sounds even around me. I hear no guidance, no nothing. It's just like I'm sitting in a soundproof, completely black room. And sometimes the black shades of black, because there is different shades of black. So sometimes it'll feel like I'm moving, but it's like nothing. And then I might get some feelings, some sensations in my body, but it's like total blackness. So I heard somebody say this before. It's going back to where you started, like back into your soul, like before you're being like your soul is birthed from nothingness. So you're going back to that nothing. It's like I feel like maybe it's part of it is also a new birth, a birth of something new when you're able to sit here because you're getting something, you just may not know what it is. So that's what I get. And it's that spot where your heart is, where your love is, that complete soul of where you are. And it's just being in that stillness, just taking it all in. And so, I went and before we got on here, I was having a conversation with somebody and we were like talking about some things and I decided that I was going to pull dragon cards because if you listen to my November forecast and my intuitive heart healer podcast, I talked about November's energy and I used the dragons. And in my group, I pulled a couple of dragons. Thor's dragon we talked about yesterday because that was coming to me. So I have Diane Cooper's dragon deck. So I pulled a dragon card today right before I got on here because I just wanted a little guidance. And like the perfect card came through and it's the source dragon card. Attunes you to the infinite. Be still in the silent. Magic can happen and be in the moment. And anybody can work with oracle cards because they have this little book for you to actually be able to work with. So every time once in a while we all need this guidance from the oracle, and it was a perfect message about being still, being silent, so the magic can actually happen in the moment. Talking about the card that I pulled right before we jumped on, the Source Dragon.
Yeah.
And what the message on there said. But there was something in here that I wanted to read and I can't see what it was, but I was talking about how it, like, being in that darkness is like going back to that soul. And so I was talking about that. And there was something that I also had read in this that in the center of all dimensions, galaxies, universe is the infinite point of pure stillness and love. And that is when you sit in that silence and you sit in that stillness and you have this all darkness, is where you actually are on that infinity point. And that's the source of light and love. And that's what the card is talking about.
Yeah, and I heard, I catch like the last part of like magic, and that's where the magic happens. And it's so true. Like that's where the magic fucking happens, is when you're in silence, when you're in that stillness. Because what happens is we overanalyze everything. We overthink every situation. We overthink every possibility, every little thing, that we're not paying attention to this stillness, to what we have right now, to what we have in front of us. And so we're too busy with all of the things going on in our minds that we can't sit here and sit in silence, because it's like, oh no, I have to overthink. And then you get used to that. You get like, it's almost like an addiction pretty much, because you're so used to overthinking that when you're overanalyzing every little single thing, that you're not allowing yourself to be present in that moment, present in what's going on right now, and allow the stuff to come through and create.
And it's also like that way when it comes to when you connect for guidance, because like you get so caught up in, I want to hear this, I want to hear, like, I want information, like, you know.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people when they start out and they're like, I don't see anything, I'm like, that's great. And they're like, but I want to see all this stuff. And I'm like, but that's not what you're meant to see right now. And as you were talking, because the source energy talks about the infinity sign, and we see the infinity sign like, well, look at my thumb and like this. And I had a reading from somebody, and she said, I see eights, because eight's like infinity sign. She goes, that's the infinity sign. She goes, every time I flipped it this way, it would go back this way. And I just, you know, I didn't really pay much attention. I was thinking maybe it was number 8, and I just kind of shelved it. But just you talking and reading this card made me think the infinity sign, the connection when it's like this, the connection to up here. And then this part is there our connection to the human. So like sometimes we're like this, like really far apart or really close together. But when we can sit in those points and actually be in that middle spot, in that stillness and that silence, it's where you really connect and allow and just be in that moment of the actual creation. And you connect so strongly to your humanness and your divine. And
okay, so this is my favorite, because I've told you this before, that I've seen this like in NLP, they use that loop too. And it's that loop on how it's the like this, right? Well, I saw it like that. And I told you, I said, you know, I remember that I told you that I said, you know, that's like, I see the DNA. Like when we see the DNA, it's like that. And it's really like all of the stuff is fucking connected. And if you would fucking just be present, like we could shift so much shit. Like okay, if we're like this, like you said, not separated, what if we connected something and then like it like shifted our DNA at the same time? Because now we're in that connection. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like it's just about being present and like connecting the pieces together so that you can shift them and so that you can like evolve in that form.
Yeah. And you know, you can be where you're like so far disconnected to your humanness and so much into the spirit world. And like, you know, I've heard so many people like, I just want to stay there. Like, how many times have you done it, or like gone into a meditation and like it took you took you somewhere and you're like, oh, I didn't want to come back. Or maybe at one point, and then you just went like this, and then you had to come back down and you're like, I didn't want to be here. And then there's our human self. There's how many people here is like, I don't believe in that. I don't want nothing to do with it. And they're like, I'm just here having this experience, and like, I believe only in what here. And you have these two sides. But what happens if we could actually meet in the middle? What can we learn by meeting in that middle point?
Yeah. And the other thing is like, okay, if you think about my coach right now, he's teaching us to dream and like think outside of the box, right? So when we're in that state that we want to be in, that we don't want to come back down, if we allow ourselves to get there, it will come back to this. It'll come back into our reality. It'll be our reality. But we have to allow ourselves to get out of that and just allow ourselves to dream, or like whatever you want to call it, whatever, meditate, whatever. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's all connected. I mean, like when you do your manifestations, and you sit in that quiet and that stillness, and you do your manifestations, and you're dreaming what you want to come in, right? And you just let it go, and then you have you're feeling it here. You're in your human form. You're feeling like, oh my God, this would be great. I'm so grateful, and all these things that happen. That's when you can actually allow it to come back to you. So if there's so many different like connective pieces, and it's kind of like this. The infinity sign doesn't just work with the spirituality, but it works in everything. Infinite possibilities, infinite.
Yeah.
You can look at this group and that group. You and me are here. Why? When can we connect here?
Yeah.
I mean, and part of it is being in that stillness and allowing it to actually happen, which actually allows you to listen even more.
Yeah. And going back to that meditation part, and like when people want things, and that's the thing, we want. And when you're in that state of want, you're not allowing things to come through. You're not allowing the answers to come through. You're not allowing the things to come through because you're too busy wanting it. So if you sit down in meditation and people don't give it the grace, right? People don't give it the grace that it's just sitting down. And meditation can be literally anything that you want. And it's like sitting down in that present moment, in that silence, and giving it time. Because if you just try it one day and you're just like, no, it didn't work for me, I didn't see nothing, I didn't hear nothing, that's it. That you're supposed to do that. It's supposed to sit down and do nothing. Like, and then once you continue to do it and you practice it daily, you'll start creating, you'll start seeing different things, you'll start hearing things, or whatever it is that as a human, we're all different. We all experience things differently. Whatever is supposed to come through you will come through, but it's about sitting in that silence.
Yeah, all right. Well, yeah, and the sometimes when you start out meditation, like you have all this like people don't understand, like things can come through in your meditation too. So it's like, oh, my grocery list, then you put it off. But then there might be a situation. So maybe something comes into you during meditation. Maybe it's a fight you had with your sister or whatever, and it comes into your meditation. And if you just allow it to play out during your meditation, you're allowing yourself to see it from a different perspective because there's no attachment to it. So then that's where you can gain your guidance, because you're being silent. When you're silent and just being, you're allowing yourself to see and hear things that you wouldn't when you're just like all revved up and like, oh my God, I can't believe, like, in that feeling, that energy. And when you're in meditation, you're usually detached from your, not completely, but like you're not in that really feel angry. You're in a very peaceful state that will allow you to see situations from different perspectives and point of view, and you can see things and hear things that you weren't able to see. So when these things come into your meditation, don't get frustrated. It's coming in to help you heal and move through it. And you can only get there when you're sitting in that stillness. All right. Well, have a great day, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Magical Tea Talks. My name is Valeri McLaughlin, Cinderella Spa on Instagram, cinderellaspa.com, or you can follow her, Cindy Hernandez, on Facebook. You can follow me at Instagram, Intuitive Heart Healer, Valeri McLaughlin, Intuitive Heart Healer on Facebook, or you can jump over to my website, www.intuitivehearthealer.com. We look forward to seeing you all on Thursday. And if you have any topics you would like us to discuss, you can email us at magicalteatalks@gmail.com. Have a great day, everybody. Till next time, go out and spread some love in this world. I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye for now.